So maybe it's worthwhile to start with an example. And the one that I like to give is in the automobile industry. When you think about long time ago, cars were sold as a base car with a very long list of options, and over time, this company moved to packages of options that were bundled together, so a premium package, a sport package, etc. So, what prompts a company to actually go towards the choice game is basically three factors. The first one is around commoditization. Think about the PC industries or etc., where through innovation, through progress, cost goes down, everything becomes included, your hardware become commoditized, and you don't need to actually provide so many options. Digitization will be the second one. So in here, we're talking about hardware that start to have some IoT into it and some software layers that provide additional values. When this is happening in an industry, we see the need for more like packages providing both the hardware and the software together, and different level of services offered. The third one is simplification. When you have too many choices, too many SKUs, too many options, it's difficult for your customer to make choice. It's difficult for your sales organization to communicate the value associated with all of the options that you have. So we end up in a situation where company try to remove this complexity and drive more of a clear value of the choices that they can offer to customers. When you're thinking really of moving from the bottom, the custom games, towards the choice game, you're moving more towards value. And you have to do that at a segment level. So the first step is really to conduct customer research and insights to better understand these needs, this willingness to pay, and segment, these customers into groups that are very similar needs. So you can start to put a package in front of each of these customers, if you will. So they have to think about your competitive dynamic and assess the competitive dynamic that is happening in the market, because you want for each of your package to have a sense of where you're going to be differentiated and how you will be communicating this differentiation. So obviously competitive assessment is very important. Then you can start to design the package, test them in the market, then start to price them, where you would want your list price or a price that becomes an indication of the value that each choice represents, and the discounts that will allow you to tweak this value based on the variation within one segment of the willingness to pay of each customer, right? So very important to think through how you build this pricing logic. Once you have that, you will then go back to the market and test again, and monitor and continue to improve. Some of the challenges in this move to choice are: one, during the design phase, so being afraid of not providing enough of the services to their customers. People tend to add more functionalities or more features in each of the package. And while this sounds like a good idea at the beginning, you actually may take the risk by doing this of cutting yourself from customers who have a simpler need, and then don't offer the opportunity for your customer to grow with you, to have this land and expand motion, if you will. So it's very critical in a product design to stay simple and really not create choices that are too rich. The second challenge is around pricing. When you're thinking about choices, what really matters are the price gap between these choices, because you want them to be representing the value that is associated with the difference between these choices. And usually companies who are coming from the custom game are doing pricing that is basically discounting. They don't have the capabilities of doing this value-based type of approach to assess the gap between the value of each of the products. The third one is really the underestimation of the effort that is required to implement this package. Because when you think about providing choices to a customer versus being in a custom game, one, you have a marketing team that need to be better equipped to communicate simply the value of each choices. Two, you need your sales team to sell value, not sell discount anymore. The changes are beyond pricing. It's a fundamental shift in how the company work and function. Moving to choice is really a move towards a more customer-centric type of organization. As you move to a choice game, you clarify your offer, you better communicate the value, the choices for your customers become simpler, and we see an acceleration of deal within the system. A good example of a company who has made this move successfully was one of our clients a couple of years ago in the medtech industry. So this company was providing medtech hardware to hospitals and labs for pharma, etc. Over time, this hardware became more commoditized. But while this was happening, the company was investing a lot in software and services that were coming with this hardware that they were not really monetizing well. So the exercise we did with them was to basically bundle the hardware, the software, and the service into a as a service, if you will, offer with different tiering of level of services that were offered as discrete choices for the customer. This was at the end extremely successful. This company that was going through a flat growth period prior to this transition, starting to actually have growth around 5 to 10% every year, and a lot was attributed to the implementation of these choices.